Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, regular school board meeting for Riverhead. Can I have a motion to go into open session?
Motion.
Thank you, Colin. Can I have a second? Thank you, Matt. All in favor? Motion passes. Are we going to be able to get that up? While they're discussing that, I just want to let you know that Brian Conley and Therese Zahowski both aren't here this evening. They both have work obligations. Ms. Thompson, would you like to stand for the pledge? Of the United States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any comments on agenda items from the public? Nobody? Superintendent's report?
Thank you, Ms. Downs. We're going to begin this evening by having our MTSS plan presentation to the Board of Education. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kerner and Dr. Galati.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Tornatoy, for allowing us to present to the Board of Education this evening. This is one of our final revisions of our new MTSS plan in partnership with PLC Associates. We are grateful to the committee that was established last year and for the hard work that they put into creating the original plan.
So once again, we appreciate you giving us this time to present this robust plan. As you could see on this slide that is pictured in front of you, this is our MTSS committee. Thank you to many stakeholders that took part in a 2-year process to outline, research, and identify a clear, consistent, and meaningful MTSS plan for our district. We appreciate the continued support given by our Board of Education and certainly our district administration.
Thank you, Bill. So for those who may not know, MTSS is a proactive approach to identifying students with academic and behavioral needs. Instead of waiting for them to fail, essentially what the goal is to establish routines, procedures, protocols, and guidelines for assisting them along their educational journey. You can see on this slide, MTSS encompasses a tiered approach of ongoing high-quality interventions and certainly reflection and evaluation as the children move through their education.
As you can see on this slide, as previously addressed, this is a 3-tiered model with levels of intensity to support the academic and social development of our students. This is a collaborative process with teachers, administrators, counselors, social workers to determine the appropriate levels of intervention. Data is essential, ranging from class assignments, quarterly achievement, baseline benchmark testing, state assessments, Regents data, and much more. It has been found that by establishing a meaningful relationship with students that is caring and compassionate, that students will achieve. Ongoing professional development is planned to support teachers with instructional best practices and diverse modalities to assess student learning.
Thank you. And as Dr. Galati mentioned, MTSS is a tiered approach to social, emotional, and academic success. And so we believe that it's people, not programs, that provide our students with their optimal outcomes. So as you can see on the slide, this is one example of some of the visuals that you'll see in the final plan, which outlines our Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 interventions for attendance, academic, and behavior. I just want to mention to the board and certainly to the community that the goal is to have 80 to 90% of our students functioning in Tier 1, and when we realize that they are in need of more intervention, they would then move into Tier 2, which we generally look for only 5 to 10% of our students to be in Tier 2, and ultimately only 1 to 5% in Tier 3. That said, what we have done in the plan and what we look to do in the upcoming school year is to provide various interventions and curriculum in the different tiers so that we're meeting the children where they are, and certainly paying very close attention to the different learning profiles of our students.
As detailed on this next slide, this plan has intent of being implemented consistently across the district and tailored to meet the unique needs of students to support each student in their academic and behavioral development. As you can see here, and we can't emphasize enough, that is not considered a special ed process, but it is a roadblock to special education services. All schools will have an MTSS team. The building principals will be responsible to monitor the implementation of this plan and to ensure that research-based interventions are implemented.
And certainly a goal of Dr. Galati and I, Dr. Tornatori, and the entire leadership team is to support our teachers, social workers, psychologists, and counselors so that they are best equipped to meet the needs of our students. Essentially, MTSS provides a positive environment for students, which in turn impacts our school climate, our school culture. A positive school climate is a leading indicator in successful outcomes, and most certainly that's our goal. So on our last slide, you can see MTSS helps educators to be thoughtful about using resources appropriately and impactfully, and to use data to continually monitor and improve the effectiveness of our best instructional practices. We are very grateful to our educators for the work that they do every day, all day, and certainly the MTSS plan will be another support for our teachers, students, and their families. Any questions?
Let's go first.
In Tier 2, how would this work? The students that are in that, maybe 10% of the students stay at Pulaski. How many students we're talking, how many at Pulaski?
I'm sorry, so you're asking how many students at
students
Pulaski
at
would be
Pulaski?
in?
No, how many are there, right? What's our population at Pulaski?
800 or so.
I'd say approximately in the 800 range.
800. So like 80 kids, could be up to 80 kids they're getting pulled out 2 to 3 times a week for maybe ELA and 2 times a week for math, they're missing their regular classroom instruction during that time?
So the models do differ, and when interventionists or elementary specialists, math specialists, reading teachers can push into the classrooms, and if the classroom teachers and the administrators feel that that's appropriate and best meets the needs of the children, that would then be the model, Mr. Dorr. Sometimes it's a pullout. It depends on the needs of that particular group of students and the way that they learn best.
Are we going to have to hire new math specialists and English ELA specialists to put this into plan?
We already have effective staff in place for now, and so we will continue to have that conversation to see, what the outcomes are for our students. Certainly, since it is people, not programs, we always continue to discuss our staffing needs.
And the funding for that's coming from?
And that's part of the discussion, absolutely. So,
Mr. Doran, also, we already have our RTI plan was this also. So, that's what I remember, is that there was push-ins for reading, and then the more intensive, when you were needed like 1 to 3, then you went maybe to another classroom, especially if you're getting, a different approach, right?
right, so Mrs. Healy, RTI is certainly one component of the MTSS plan. MTSS is a more broad approach.
But I was just trying
Okay.
to point out that this is like nothing new in the sense when
Okay.
it comes to, especially the academic piece.
Absolutely.
We've always been doing
Yes.
this, and we've had to do this.
It's best practice, and our
Right.
teachers are experts in,
Yes.
uh,
Well, what I'm liking at the elementary level for Tier 2 is that you have SPIRE, you have a structured literacy component, that you're at least bringing some of the foundations back at Tier 1, because we do have a Tier 1, issue. We don't have 80% in Tier 1. And so that's something that we can assess to see how many by the end of the year and next year are in Tier 1 and Tier 2, because that's how we know whether or not our Tier 1 is working. You shouldn't have, more than 10 or 15% in Tier 2. You have a Tier 1 problem.
And we thank you, Mrs. Healy, for noticing the new interventions that we are bringing into the district that are highly effective and research-based. So we are excited about those new components.
Right, as well as the Sunday system, which I know has been on the RTI, but there was no PD. So when I would ask, there was very few children that were actually in that program, because there was no PD for it. So, and as we know, when you have more of a leveled, with using a balanced literacy program, it doesn't always help those children that have those deficits in decoding and so forth, and they need that extra time to get that.
Exactly.
So-
And if the children aren't, learning the way that we're teaching, we need to be able to teach the way that they learn. And so Dr. Galati and I are exceptionally focused with our admin team in providing that quality, ongoing professional development in the new curriculum, but also in best practice.
Right, thank you.
One last thing, this is a draft. Again, there's more changes that have to be made.
So I'll comment on that. This is a fluid document. So we're going to be implementing it this year, and then we're going to be reflecting upon it quarterly, with our administrative team, with our teachers, with our support service individuals, to assess, is this appropriate? Is it meeting the diverse needs of students to support them academically as well as socially and emotionally?
Okay, so the plan as written here is ready to go September 7th
Yes, it
or
is.
6th.
Yes, it is.
So, but in the plan, is there going to be that comment that you just made, that it will be fluid and that you will take a look at the assessments and interventions?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
It will be in what I'm seeing on
Yes,
here.
so Mrs. Healy, I think the draft that you received as a board is still we're awaiting a final draft from our partners at PLC Associates. And yes, indeed, that will be italicized, that this is a fluid document that continually needs to be assessed and revisited so that our students, receive the very best. So it will be in there.
Right,
My just concern, are we going to approve a draft tonight we're going to have to come back and approve a final? Or should we table this until we get the final?
The
But we
plan,
have
and
a
Mr.
vote
Joy,
on
the
it.
plan and the way that it sits is final. It's just the few detailed italicized phrases that need to be added. So, I mean, I suppose that's up to the Board of
Yeah,
Education.
we're voting on it tonight.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it's a draft, I don't want to vote on it and have to come back and vote on the final.
Yeah, it's not a draft.
It says right
They
here
already
it's a
said
draft.
it's ready for the 6th.
Okay.
So I just want to share that it's certainly a journey as we look at additional layers of support that we want to provide for our students. And as the district transitions from the RTI process to the MTSS process, this will be something that we will continuously look through. And at some point, either during the year or into next year, we will be presenting an updated plan for the board to adopt. But the importance for us to be able to present this to the board for adoption tonight is so that we can begin this journey with our administrative team and our teachers, our support staff, to be able to provide those additional supports for our students.
So what you're saying is that, as of now, that piece will not be in the plan that we are voting on tonight, about that it's just that, a line that this is fluid about the assessments and interventions will be looked at through the year? So you're not including that in the draft as of tonight?
So the last revision that we just received, we did just receive, I would say, a few hours ago from PLC Associates. What we could do is, and I would have to seek our counselor, our attorney's advice on, is if the board votes on it, to have that in the resolution. If that would be an appropriate way to see that the board would be able to vote on it by adding that in the resolution.
You could say as amended to reflect such and such.
Yeah, well, that's what he's saying. I think they're doing that right now. Otherwise, I do want to thank you for all of your work and going back and addressing a lot of the concerns like that we had. And, we had a wonderful presentation, I guess it was June, especially on the other pieces, the social, emotional, the behavior and so forth. So I just want to, thank everybody that was involved, their input, and for you two following up and, cleaning up the pieces to this so that we have something going forward. Thank you.
It was an honor, and we had a good time with it. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. You're done.
Thank you, Dr. Kerner and Dr. Galati. At this point, I would like for Dr. Asay to share about the financial briefing.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to give you a quick update regarding the financial reports and also what's changes that we are making in the district. We are currently going through some significant change in the business office in regard to the staffing and also changing the format of the financial reports. So at this current time, next month, we should be meeting with our auditors so we can agree on some things. We're working with the new auditors and also auditors. They're auditing our books, but this will be the last year auditing the financial statements. So working with two different auditors at the same time and also making some changes as necessary. As a result, some of the financial reports has been delayed. But once we're done with the audit, go meet with the audit committee, go through a lot of different things, we will ensure that the board and and administration have all the reports that is needed and required to provide to the board, at least on a monthly basis, and also the annual financial reports. Any questions?
So Dr. Asay, just so that you could share with the board that the June, July, and future treasurer's reports and any budget transfers will be presented at a future board meeting on the agenda.
Correct. They will receive several report at one time soon after the audit, in which we are required to complete the audit, provide financial report to the board by October 15th. But we will obviously meet with the audit committee prior to October 15th to go through everything. Any questions?
When you're going to be giving those reports, I know that you're going to actually be giving us more than that we've gotten in the past, correct?
Yes, we have to give you more report than you have received in the past, as required by state regulations.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and just a few more things to share out. Even though we are at the end of August, we are close to the beginning of September, so I did want to recognize National Hispanic Heritage Month. And there's just a few other items that I'd like to share out. We are extremely grateful to the various organizations who have provided free of charge items for our students. So we will have book bags filled with school supplies for our students. So we're very honored that we've been able to receive those donations. Additionally, I had the privilege of attending the Peconic boat race with Ms. Downs and Mr. Colhane. We did see our students who are entering the middle school who were the team Sharkbait, and they had a tremendous amount of wins that day, so we were very proud of them, and I congratulated them after the race. I do want to apologize to the board and to the community that the calendar was delayed due to a printing issue. We did receive the calendar, so residents should be receiving the calendar as well as my welcome back letter. We're very excited that we held the new Professional Institute yesterday, today, and it's going on tomorrow as well for all of our new staff and team members who have joined us. We cannot wait for Superintendents Conference Days. We have this Thursday and Friday, where we are embarking on an Ed Camp style professional development for our team members, where they are selecting different activities to participate in for professional development purposes. We do have the opening of schools on Tuesday, and I've been visiting the building, seeing that everything is coming together. The floors are shined, the classrooms look really nice, so we are very, very happy to welcome our students in on Tuesday as well. And lastly, I do want to thank the clerical team members, our buildings and grounds and custodians for all the work that they have done this summer, because they've really undertaken a lot of work as we have moved to implement a lot of the positive changes for the students in the district.
Thank you, Dr. Tornatore. Consent agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you, Virginia. Could I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Colin. Any questions?
So is there going to be a resolution on consent agenda or on the new, for the MTSS plan?
It's on new business.
It's on C?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
I
under
don't
new
have it
business.
on the computer.
All in favor? Motion passes. New business, letter A, approval of annual employment contract for 2022-2023. Could I have a motion, please? Thank you, Matt. Could I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Colin. Questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Motion passes. Letter B, approval of service agreement. Could I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Colin. Can I have a second? Thank you, Matt. Any questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Virginia? Motion passes. Letter C, approval of MTSS.
Sorry, I thought that was under consent. That's why I'm on the wrong page.
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Riverhead Central School District approve the MTSS plan as amended to include that the document is fluid and will be reviewed and updated as appropriate. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Virginia. Can I have a second? Thank you, Matt. Any questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Nay? I got one. Chris is abstaining. The motion passes. Letter D, approval of contracts. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Matt. Can I have a second? Thank you. Any questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Motion passes. Approval of memorandums of agreement, letter E. Can I have a motion? Thank you, Matt. Could I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Virginia. Any questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Motion passes. Letter F, approval of special education services contracts. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Virginia. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Colin. Any questions? No? All in favor? Motion passes. Letter G, approval of adoption of textbooks. Motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Virginia. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Colin. Questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Motion passes. H, second reading of revised board policy, teaching about controversial issues. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Colin. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Virginia. Any questions?
Yes. Reading this over again, where are the rights of the parents if they don't want this discussed in the classroom? And again, we've taken out age appropriate, and who's to decide if the student is developmentally ready to discuss this? And does that mean that the class has to be to the lowest developmentally student in the class to decide whether a controversial issue should be arranged? What happens if the student is uncomfortable discussing this? Where do they get to go? What's going to happen if the parent is uncomfortable with the teacher bringing up this controversial issue? What rights do they have to have their student either removed from the class or not have it discussed? And don't get me wrong, I was a social studies teacher. I know controversial issues do come up, but again, this looks like you took out the part where if it comes up in a normal lesson, this is discussed. The way it reads is a math teacher could come in and just decide that I'm going to talk about controversial issues today. There's a lot of problems with this policy.
It's got to be curriculum-based. The teachers can't just walk in and say we're talking about.
But they took that part out of the policy.
Mr. Dorr, are you looking at the previous version
Nope.
or the amended version?
The amended version.
The amended version, because the amended version really is just adding information. It's not taking anything away. Those kind of previous situations or possible situations, still came up previously. I don't believe that they're something that we're trying to remove any sort of parental.
Under 6.
Nothing's being removed parentally.
Oh, he does. It's under relevant to the curriculum. It has to have educational value and are
Right,
relevant
but-
to the curriculum.
Before in this policy, it says, let me just find it. We took out, shall be handled as they arise in a normal course of instruction and not introduced on their own sake. We took that out, and it just says, in a classroom, matters of controversial natures are permitted. So they can just, according to that line, just bring it up. I don't know why we took that out. I just think controversial issues, especially nowadays, parents need to be more involved. A lot of this needs to be taught in the home and not in the school.
Mr. Dorr, if I may, we were advised by NISBA, so the information did come from NISBA.
But that doesn't mean it's right.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just wanted to answer your question.
Yeah.
And then additionally, when the revised policy did come before the board, the policy committee did choose to go back to have it tabled and discuss it further. So the policy committee members did review it with Dr. Galati and with me, and to ensure that while we do want to have that academic freedom, that there were parameters put into place, that the administrator should be involved, safe guest speakers are coming in, things of that nature. But we certainly understand that there are parents or guardians who may be uncomfortable, or students who may be uncomfortable with certain topics. And just like in the past, they are more than welcome to, if they needed to be excused from that class period, or if it's, say something in Pulaski, to be, to not have to sit during that portion of it. We certainly don't want any student to be uncomfortable or any parent to be uncomfortable. We want there to be a lively conversation between students with their teacher, but it's never to showcase only one particular view. And as a social studies teacher myself, I know when I was teaching, I always presented both sides, and the students would ask me, what did I think? And I would say to them, it doesn't matter what I think, it's what you think. You have to make that decision. So that's certainly what our goal is with the policy. And while I certainly understand your concerns, it is in no way to make any student or parent or guardian feel uncomfortable with conversations.
There, I see under number 4, it says in a manner that takes into account students' age and development level. So I see age is put back in there, and that there's to be no bias. It has to be objective and will present adequate background information. So that I was comfortable with.
Who is determining whether a class is developmentally ready to discuss a controversial issue?
Well, either we trust our teachers as professionals. I mean, they've gone through, many years of education. I mean, like even for ourselves as parents, we take that into consideration. But I would think in an educational system, either we trust that our professionals, our teachers, they do that day in and day out, right? They know whether or not. I mean, otherwise
But we also know that they're people and they may have their own agendas
Well,
too.
absolutely. I mean, throughout time. I mean, we've all experienced that. No one's going to say, everyone's fallible in that way. And that is why, and if there is an issue, parents will say something, right? I mean, I know that. I mean, even growing up, that was always brought up. I mean, I do know that they've kept in that prior to presenting known controversial material, so prior to this, especially they're anticipating it, that they have to present everything to that building principal, and if there's any guest speaker, it has to be brought. So that's been left, that was brought back in, I noticed. But how do you, throughout any conversation in a classroom, something comes up, students bring up things, right? So that is where you're hoping that that professional in the classroom is moderating and at least providing that objective. I don't think we're going to be able to avoid it, but these, parameters, what I like is that they're making sure that there's no bias and that when you're grading, it's objective, and the discussion does take into account the students' ages and development levels. So, I mean, I'm glad that you guys went back and brought some of those pieces in, especially if, I think even for the educator in the classroom, whenever they're discussing anything controversial, or they're anticipating something coming up that's controversial, that they at least have an administrator knows what's going on just to back them also, another set of ears. But I in this case, either we trust them or we don't. right? I mean, especially, as soon as you put your kids out the door, you have to.
Okay, anyone? Okay, so I got a motion, I got a second. We had our questions. All in favor?
Opposed.
Opposed. We got one opposed. Motion passes. I, third and final reading of revised board policy, conflict of interest. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Colin. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Virginia. Any questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Motion passes. Letter J, acceptance of donations. We got a trumpet from Orland Warner. Thank you. We got a photography equipment from Sullivan Martin. Thank you. A $75 gift card from Costco to purchase water for school supply giveaway at Phillips Avenue School. Thank you, Costco. Can I have a motion? Thank you, Matt. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Colin. Any questions?
No, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you. As someone who has a very personal connection to the photography program at Riverhead, I'd like to thank Sylvan for the massive donation of pieces to help to keep the program strong.
All in favor? Motion passes. We're going to move on to opportunity for board members, committee reports.
Yes.
Virginia?
Yeah, we had an audit committee meeting on August 15th. Dr. Tornatori, Dr. Essay, myself, Colin, Noraki Smith, which are our internal auditor, Questar 3, Bosse's our previous internal auditor. Okay, so an audit engagement was conducted, and the internal auditor is scheduled to be in the district in October 22nd to prepare the audit and risk assessment. The forensic audit did not find any wrongdoing in the sense of criminality by financial staff and administrators, and since they are now our internal auditors, we're going to continue the forensic audit work during the normal audit and risk assessment cycle. I numbered the pages. The risk assessment will be comprehensive. The operations of the transportation will be reviewed for risk purposes to the district. Grants information was provided for the following title grants totaling $2,136,729. School Improvement Grant, the SIG, Title I Part A, Title I Part D, Title II Part A, Title III LEP, Title III ELL and Immigrant, and Title IV Part A. So we were given a very thorough presentation. Thank you. The 2021-2022 internal audit draft report was reviewed and disclosed the following information. And this was from following up with Questar 3 Bosse's. They did, and we'd asked them to take a look at the transportation department. Some transportation billing information was not available for services that were provided by the district, and I believe that was due to the cyber attack. 20 repair orders were not billed, and really 18 of those was because they were scanned to the business office, but we didn't receive them. So it was really, we just have to make sure we follow up with that communication. So if something's scanned over, at least we know it's being scanned over at the business office. Some discrepancies were identified in the billing. Incorrect fuel contract information in the intermunicipal municipal agreements were also found because some state-awarded contract numbers were inaccurate. The external auditor, financial documents must be updated and prepared by the financial staff for the external audit. It should take 2 to 3 months to complete the external audit. The audit committee must meet in the beginning of October to discuss the 2021-2022 external audit. Corrective action plans have to be prepared and reviewed with the audit committee. Auditing costs have increased due to new disclosure requirements by Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB for financial statements, and training staff. The treasurer's reports have to be delayed for June 22, July 22, and August 2022 until the financial records are audited and completed in accordance with NICET requirements. The 2023-2024 budget development calendar and rollover have to start next month in order to develop processes including maintaining communication among the administration, board, and the audit committee. The audit committee is arranging meetings every month through December and following the 2023-2024 budget development calendar to establish objectives and targets, develop a detailed budget, compiled financial analysis, and make recommendations. The Audit Committee, Assistant Superintendent for Business, and Superintendent is scheduled to discuss expectations and the role of the Audit Committee regarding making recommendations, financial controls, budget development, and accountability. The Audit Committee is scheduled to have monthly and quarterly meetings, September, December, March, and June. The budget development calendar will also be followed. The Audit Committee will review financial policies and procedures that have to be updated. District officials and board members must continue discussions on New York's transition to all electric school buses and the impact it will have on the district. The operational efficiency of the transportation department has to be studied by a transportation expert because of the zero-emission school bus mandate and increasing costs. So we'll be meeting more regularly, and we're going to be included in budget, doing budget workshops. So Dr. Essay is keeping us busy. And with that, the board will be getting more updates from the Audit Committee.
Thank you. Any other committee meetings?
We had a facilities committee meeting on August 24th, but I was unable to complete the report, so at the next meeting, I'll have a report for that meeting.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Any other kind of board member remarks? Anybody?
Yes, please.
Mr. Dorr?
I think it was still on. Yeah, first, once again, Riverhead Local tries to paint the school district in a bad light with their headline about Riverhead School District rejects agreement with town for collection of $2.9 million. It makes it look like we just gave up on that money. I understand if you read the article, but in today's stage, it's clickbait. They read the headline and then they go crazy on Facebook with their own opinions instead of actually reading the article. I would hope that Riverhead Local would try to paint the school district in a better light than what they do. With that out of the way, with school starting before our next meeting, I just want to wish all the administration, the teachers, the students, custodial, security staff, everybody involved in the school, the best school year possible. Really enjoy yourself and let's have a good year.
Thank you. Any other school board? Any other members? No. Opportunity for RCFA.
I'll keep it real short, but thank you for working so hard over the summer. Some of us didn't work as hard as you did, but with saying that, I want you to know that the teachers are very excited to start a brand new year. We've been taking classes and gaining our lessons set and so forth, and we're coming back to extremely clean buildings. The custodians did an amazing job, so we're really ready to go, and thank you for your hard work, Board of Education.
Thank you. Opportunity for RAA.
Sitting back there, it's a long walk up here. Good evening. I just want to reintroduce Mr. Enos and I as old leadership of the Riverhead Administrators Association. We look forward to a good year and working collaboratively and reestablishing our supportive and positive relationship that RA has enjoyed with the board in previous years.
Good evening, everyone. Your RA team is very, very excited about the upcoming academic year, and we want to wish everyone a fantastic opening. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Opportunity for the public. You got 3 minutes. You give your name and your residence. What township?
Okay. My name's Abigail Heck. I'm a rising senior at Riverhead High School, and I'm from Aquabog. So I encountered a lot of issues with my scheduling this year, and I sent an email to both Dr. Tonatori and Mr. Gassar as well, but I just thought I'd share with everyone. So I've encountered a multitude of conflicts with setting my schedule for this school year, and while I was able to resolve some of the key issues surrounding my core classes, there were still many issues that are rather bothersome to me. It appears that many of the weighted electives and extra classes I was intending to take are running on the same periods as core classes that dropping are not an option. I've worked on constructing a high GPA all throughout high school, and I can't sacrifice it to take classes to simply fill the spots with regular electives. And it doesn't seem fair as a student who has never had a problem with taking extra classes to all of a sudden be left with 3.5 full free periods. I went from taking a schedule consisting of 10 classes to one of 6. And since middle school, it seems as if the school has boasted a robust AP program and other internal opportunities to earn college credit for students. Now it appears that we are left with the skeleton of this, as everything only has one section, all of which are running on the same class periods. As students at the top of the senior class, we're supposed to be the face of the school, representing the success that can be produced by our district, but these issues have more than frustrated myself and others. It feels as if I'm being punished for wanting to excel and take a rigorous course load my senior year, and especially when applying to college, it's going to seem as if I'm taking the easy way out due to the drop-off and challenging courses that I'm taking. Especially with a 9-period day, we were ensured that this was going to add opportunities for the students, but now we're left out to dry. Every year that I've witnessed, seniors have had priority in scheduling the classes that they wish to take, and now most of the challenging courses that are available to students like me are supposed to be setting me up for college, and I've worked for a long time to be able to take them. However, they're all running at the same time due to a various amount of reasons that prevent me from being able to take these opportunities. And additionally, for the AP courses, students are required to complete lengthy and time-consuming summer assignments as preparation for the classes, and I fully understand their purposes, but it doesn't seem fair for students to have to complete these long assignments to not even know if we're guaranteed a spot in the class. I've had the option to join other classes to fill the empty spots in my schedule. However, I'd be stuck cramming these assignments into the last moments of summer. And this is an entirely avoidable issue, as schedules could have been sent out much earlier so that these issues could have been resolved and taken care of before school starts. And it is now Tuesday, August 30th, and I was not made aware of these conflicts until yesterday. I know that schedules were not released until the end of last week. However, if my guidance counselor didn't tell me, then I would not have been made aware of this until the first day of school, when I was left in a schedule of classes that I was unhappy with taking that would essentially destroy my senior year, as well as my GPA that, once again, I've been setting myself up for years. Simply having these 3 periods off is something that's not really feasible for someone who's trying to apply to some of the top pre-medical schools in the nation. So I decided to see if last minute I could apply to the early college program to construct a schedule. Although Mr. Connolly has been nothing but helpful, I'm left with only days to resolve this issue, and I've not been able to schedule a meeting with him yet. And the classes that I'm interested in taking are either full or almost full, and I may not be able to take them at all. If I would have known sooner that all these conflicts existed, I would have been able to have had time to be more proactive and work around them better. However, once again...
Excuse me, do you have much more to go because your time is up?
No, just a couple sentences.
Okay, please finish up.
Yes.
Thank you.
As a top student who's only trying to take advantage of the opportunities that are encouraged to us, I'm left scrambling a week before the start of school with only 2 days left before classes begin at Suffolk. So, thank you.
Your name?
Hi, I'm Emma Ellis. I live in Calverton, and I'm also a rising senior. I want to second what Abigail was saying. It was brought to my attention this morning that due to some scheduling conflicts, myself and many other seniors have to choose between taking some completely different classes. In my case, I have to choose between taking French 5 or AP Calculus BC, which are completely different classes. I find it ridiculous that we are presented with making these difficult choices just because we wish to take more challenging classes. As seniors, we should be able to take the classes we want to, and we should be the first priority when it comes to scheduling classes. I shouldn't have to rearrange my schedule to drop classes I love or take classes I don't want to take. In addition, I was forced to drop certain electives as well due to certain scheduling conflicts. I have been working my hardest for the last few years, and it's extremely unfair that I've worked my way up to the near top of my class, just as Abigail, just for something like this to occur. I don't want to have to potentially sacrifice my class rank or college admission chances because I'm forced to suffer the consequences of poor planning. It's not my intention to complain about my own personal scheduling issues, but rather to shed light on the entire situation, as I'm definitely not the only person affected by this. Being that there are now 9 periods in the school day, it makes no sense to me that these issues should exist. I've never had such issues before, and I thought the intention of adding an extra period was to allow students to take more courses. I don't understand why it's a week before school begins, and this issue is just coming up to my attention now. It's extremely disappointing to me that scheduling does not take place earlier in the summer so that there is more time to solve issues should they arise, and this needs to change. I hope you can understand my frustrations, and I hope this issue can potentially be resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Tornatore? Ladies, Dr. Tornatore is going to answer you.
So Abigail and Emma, I'm sorry that you've encountered these experiences. I know, Abigail, I did receive your email and I did write back to you, as well as Mr. Casara wrote back saying that he was going to work with your counselor to see what he could do. And I'm also aware that one of the reasons why there's the 3 periods that are open are because they're waiting to find out if you are admitted to the early college program. So, I understand there are some issues. We do have a lot of singleton courses, which does make it more of a challenge when the high school team is putting together the schedule. But I would strongly encourage both of you to continue to work with your counselors and with Mr. Gassar. And if you are unable to have the issues resolved to assist you, that I would highly recommend going up the chain of command to speak to Mr. O'Hara then, so that he could try to help resolve the situation for you. I certainly want you to come into your senior year having a very pleasant experience, and I want you to enjoy the courses and the fact that we do have the 9-period day that has been restored. So hopefully they will be able to work with you to resolve these issues and concerns. And I would say that if at some point during the week, next week, if they are unable to do that, then please reach out to me and I could sit down with them and see what solutions we could offer for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can just say
you,
something
ladies.
quickly. Dr. T, thank you both so much for coming up and telling us about this. The first thing that came to my mind when you were telling me this was, it's always been like that. When I had my senior year in 2000, I had 2 AP classes that I couldn't fit in because they were scheduled at the exact same time as APs that you needed to take, to fill math and science requirements. And obviously you two are very self-motivated students. I mean, the fact that you came up and spoke to us proves that. And I know this doesn't fix anything for this year, but do you think that some sort of program maybe in the future for students like yourselves that is more independent, that is less structured in some of your periods? Do you think that that's something that you think would help, especially in your senior year? Just throwing out something like that.
Yeah, I would definitely say it depends on what type of class. However, I was offered the opportunity to have some sort of less structured period as opposed to dropping a class. It would definitely be something I wouldn't be opposed to looking into.
Okay, thanks.
I'm just going to, I was just thinking, though, that for the seniors, and when it comes to those upper level AP, the French 5 and so forth, that by that point that it is scheduled, that they are planning and for these students, that keeping them in mind, knowing that typically they will be taking 2 or 3 or taking those higher levels. So if there's only one section, that they're not being scheduled at the same time. I think that's got to get taken care of. I know that we can't, you're not going to be able to take care of it all, but ideally, you're going to see the ones that are more on the science and math track, more on the humanities. Of course, you do have ones that will be able to do it all. Maybe they're not going to be able to get it all scheduled, but I would think the upper level languages and when you're taking those, the AP, government and so forth, that they shouldn't be scheduled at the same time.
We definitely agree, and that is something that happened a lot on our schedules where certain classes were overlapping. If I didn't choose to drop an extra course I wanted to take, I would have had to have chosen between AP Literature, which is a course I need to graduate, and AP Calculus BC, which is something that'd be beneficial for me wanting to go into the medical field to take, which is kind of an impossible position to be in as a student.
I'm sincerely sorry about what's happened to you, and hopefully Mr. Gassar will be able to work things out for you, both of you. But Dr. T, I know that scheduling starts in like February, and I understand that we can't give everybody's schedules out because there'll be an absolute nightmare with phone calls for every grade. But maybe if we get the seniors done before school ends and then give them a
Yes.
draft of their schedule so they don't find out a day before or 2 days before school starts that they're having this issue. Maybe before the juniors, before they leave for the summer, can see what their schedule is proposed as, and then they can make the corrections then.
I do think that's a great idea. I think that part of the complexity for this past year was adding in the 9-period day and all the new courses that are being offered. But certainly moving forward, I will be able to work with Dr. Galati and Mr. O'Hara and Mr. Kosar to see how we could kind of change the procedures so that we could really take a look at supporting our incoming seniors so that they are able to be able to have the schedule sooner and to have a clearer picture as to what's available. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you again.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Berezni?
Yes. I just have like 4 questions. First of all, I'm glad to hear that Virginia brought up about the electric buses. In 2027, only the clean buses can be bought through the district. So I hope you do have a plan for the taxpayers, because all your buses will have to be replaced by the year 2035. All electric. So you're going to have to plug them all in and get the electrician here, and, because there's slow charging, medium charging, and fast charging. So we don't want to have in the year 2027, we have this hysterical that we have to buy all these buses. That's coming down from the powers to be. So I'm hoping that Mr. Dr. Assah and Dr. Tornatori and the committee will be working on that for the benefit of the taxpayers. Also, I wanted to say that I wanted to know about the collection of the allocation of funds from where the free breakfasts and lunches are coming from since the original grant stopped. Where are you getting the money? What line?
So I'm going to have Dr. Assay respond about that. I do know that Mr. Graham did put in so that we were able to offer free breakfast and lunch for this upcoming school year, but he'd be able to elaborate further. As well, Ms. Perez needs to let you know that the Audit Committee, we did have those conversations, and Dr. Assay has very clearly shared about the buses that we do need to plan out for that change.
Yes, because 2027, it's only 4 years starting January 1st, and the taxpayers can't pay, to buy all these buses all in one clip.
Absolutely.
It's the way it goes, all electric. And I don't know how they're going to do the field trips. That's going to be amazing.
So just to answer your question regarding the funding for school lunch operation, as part of budget development, it'll be much more transparent this coming year, because school lunch is actually self-funded. So because the district is part of the CEP program, we receive most of the revenue for school meals for breakfast and lunch for students. They're all eligible, all free. So it's never reduced. Everything's free for them. Now, if they want anything additional and beyond than what the federal government will provide, then they will have to pay. But
No, I understand that, but what line are you getting the money for to pay the free and reduced lunches for the whole population of the school district?
no, so each month we have claims. We submit to New York State, and they reimburse us based on our lunch and breakfast count.
Okay. Well, from what line?
It's a school lunch fund.
Okay. All right, so my next question.
And also, too, one of the comments I made tonight, the board will have to receive more reports going forward. Also, that will be available to community. You will see, that we call it the Sea Lunch Fund.
I think transparency is wonderful, and the more that the public sees, the better the public will feel. I just wanted to bring up that, Mr. Dorr brought up about the $2.9 million, the pilot payments. We don't need to attack, or not that you attacked, but we don't need to be saying, well, they did this wrong or whatever. We need to fix the problem. The attorney, Desome here, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but he packaged the thing up and put a bow on it and gave it to all the districts, municipalities, libraries, so that you could do the paperwork and file the paperwork. But I understand that Riverhead didn't file the paperwork. So now you don't want to go into the lawsuit, but somewhere along the line, somebody has to be responsible here in the district that they file the paperwork so that we can get our pilot payments, because that money can go into a reserve. I think you're banking on too much of the American Rescue Fund, the COVID monies, and the abundance of foundation aid that we received. And that money has to be going to the students to receive mental health services. That's what our President of the United States said. And anything is tutoring, any assistance that any parent should be getting for free. Those are his words, not mine. And that all students that should be for OT and PT, they should get these programs through the school district. So I'm hoping that our school district is following the plan of these American Rescue Fund monies, the $4.3 billion extra in foundation aid, and the COVID monies. So are we going to be working on the $2.9 million, Mrs. Downs? Doing the paperwork?
First off, as you know, as a past board president, that the school district does not send out invoices to taxpayers. It goes through the town. And
Did you
that
just
is,
miss them?
the town sends you the tax bill, correct?
No, I'm talking about the
pilot.
Right.
Okay, the pilot payment goes to the town, and the town disperses the money to the districts.
But somebody has to.
Riverhead Town, Mr. President, Riverhead Township is the only township in all of Long Island that has not signed the paperwork at all. Every district, every township, Brookhaven, Southampton, all of them, all the way up the island, the town gave the information to LIPA. So this way, they can give the money to the towns, and the towns can disperse it to whoever, the school districts, whatever, special districts. Riverhead Township has not done that. And we're not going to send out the bills. You didn't send out bills when you were sitting here. That's not our job. That is the job of the town.
It's to collect to your portion
We'll
of
still
the
get the
monies.
money when the time comes. But right now,
Well, I'm glad that the district is doing very well. That's amazing. And the last thing, okay, so that was it, the pilot payment. I'm sorry, Mrs. Down. So anyway, so I hope that our students are going to be getting the services that they need. That's what I'm concerned, because the kids lost 2 full years plus being masked and being on remote learning, which was a mistake from our governor, who said that today on television. So I hope that all students, not a select, or just this child or this child, but all students, any parent that requests, gets services. Right, Mrs. Downs? Right? That's the way it should be.
exactly, every child.
I agree with you.
And you know that. You know
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I know. We're Roanoke parents, and it's all children.
Exactly.
Not a select few or who we know.
Exactly,
It's all kids
Mrs.
across the
President.
board. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tannenberg?
Good evening. My name is, excuse me, Laverne Tenenberg. I'm one of the elected assessors for the town of Riverhead. There's been a lot of misinformation going around, and what you just said, unfortunately, Mrs. Downs, is incorrect. 10 towns.
Could you speak up a little bit, Laverne?
10 towns
Thank you.
comprise Suffolk County. 5 towns made the properties for LIPA exempt. 5 towns did not. 5 towns to the west of Riverhead are sending property tax bills. They're not sending pilot payments bills. They're sending property tax bills, and I have those bills here to prove that there is not one separate bill for the 5 western towns. They're mailing out tax bills. The town of Riverhead decided last year, under the Public Authorities Law, to make LIPA exempt as required under 1020P. When you read 1020Q of the real property tax law, 1020Q of the Public Authorities Law, payments in lieu of taxes each year after property theretofore owned by LOCO is acquired by the authority by any means authorized by this title, and as a consequence is removed from the tax rolls, the authority shall make payments in lieu of taxes to municipalities and school districts equal to the taxes and assessments which would have been received from year to year by each such jurisdiction if such acquisition had not occurred. And it goes on to talk about the 2% cap of the LIPA Reform Act of 2013. So interestingly, it says that LIPA shall make payments to municipalities and school districts. Now, I don't believe your district council is here tonight. And I'm sure you've discussed it with your board, but I think the board should realize that 1020Q requires LIPA to make payments.
So do you know if the town, while doing that and adding in the school district the way that they did last year, if they even informed the school district that they were doing that? Because as a board president and as a board member, I remember not hearing anything about that or seeing anything.
I sent a letter to the district, as I always do. Dr. Essay has that copy of that letter. And that was July 1st, telling them that you were losing $24 million of tax
July
base.
1st last year?
Last year.
Did you send it to the district or a specific person?
Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations.
The
Dan Schneider was completely aware of this. Every school district, every taxing jurisdiction, every fire district was aware of this, that they were going to lose tax base, and it was going to be made up as a pilot, which was supposed to reduce your levy, but I believe the school district did not reduce the levy. Therefore, the tax rate went up unnecessarily, because if you get the 2.9 million, that 2.9 million is going to be a windfall to the district, which according to the Riverhead local article, the last sentence or the last paragraph said you have to figure out where to put that money and what to do with that. And I did speak to Sam Schneider last year, and he said he would put it in a reserve fund. I said, okay. I understand the district probably did not have all of the information they needed on the 2.9 million, how much it was to be, so you didn't budget for it. I'm very curious to see if the school district, this tax levy by October 1st, if you're going to anticipate this revenue, reduce the levy, reduce the tax rate, because you're going to get it in the back door, as I call it, as a pilot. We're not sending out tax bills, you're sending out a pilot bill. And for everybody, Newsday, everybody to say that all the towns did it correctly and Riverhead didn't is wrong. It's a lie and it's wrong. And the town should not take that on the chin because it's untrue. I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for the town attorney. I'm not speaking for the supervisor. I'm not speaking for the town board. But people that are listening have to understand how this process works. And if you don't, please call my office, 631-727-3200. My extension is 259. I'd be very happy to explain it to you. Everybody was notified. Charts were made. Nothing was kept secret. Everybody knew they were supposed to reduce their levy. Some did, and some didn't. And I want to know if the district intends to reduce their levy this year, or we're going to see another increase that we shouldn't have to see, and you get a second windfall should LIPA pay. LIPA's obligated to make these payments. And it says, shall make payments in lieu of taxes to municipalities and school districts.
Thank you, Laverne. Dr. Tornatore?
I just have one quick question that I did want to ask. We've been copied on all correspondence between LIPA and the township, and in all of the correspondence, LIPA has been asking for the bills to be sent from the town to LIPA so that LIPA will pay the money,
Okay.
and we're not understanding why that is not happening.
Because there's nothing in the statute that says who has to bill and how they have to pay. There's nothing in the statute. They want the tax receiver to send out the bills and collect the money. I have statutory authority only in what I can do. The tax receiver has statutory authority in what she can do. There's nothing in the statute that says the town has to do the billing. Absolutely nothing.
But ma'am, I think what, and I don't want to speak for the board, but I think where I, as the superintendent, am not understanding is that if LIPA keeps sending correspondence to the town saying, let us know how much we owe and that we're willing to pay that.
That was all
why-
given to you in December by DeSimone. Attorney DeSimone wrapped everything up in a bow, as Kathy Beresny said, and every district was given a sample template, how to bill and what to bill. You didn't do it, you chose not to. Now the town is saying, we want to help you, we'll bill for you and disperse it one time, let's try it.
But I believe that the tie into that is to enter into litigation. And so if there's no litigation, if the town is willing to submit that information that LIPA is requesting, then the district will be able to obtain that amount of money. And then the board will be able to make a decision as to the best pathway to move forward with those funds.
The next tax year is upon us, and you're going to have to give me your levy so we know what to raise in the property tax. So is it the school board's intention to reduce their levy by approximately 2.9 million?
Thank you for making clarification on that. But like I said, we never got any information on that, and I got people to back me on that.
Well, can I just, you brought up, you had said that the 5 towns, they did not take the LIPA off their tax rolls. And
Correct.
so
The
there's
5 western towns are still sending tax bills.
of Suffolk County are still sending property tax bills.
Correct.
And the 5 towns on the east end took them off the rolls.
Correct.
And, because I know that Southold got their money, school district, so I don't know how that happened. Was it the town billed? They said that when I was listening to their Board of Ed meeting, that the town of Southold billed LIPA, and that's how they got their money.
I can't speak for Southold, I can only
Okay.
speak for Riverhead.
So you just don't want to set precedent here? You don't want to?
LIPA doesn't want this to be setting precedent.
So LIPA doesn't want you billing?
LIPA wants it all wrapped up in a neat bow. There's nothing that says it has to be done that way.
Okay, so LIPA is looking for one bill
Correct.
from each town, and then for you to divvy it up.
Correct. Which we are now offering, I believe, as a town. I'm not speaking for the town attorney. I'm only saying that the statements that every town did it right is untrue. It's untrue. 5 western towns are still taxing them, even though they're exempt under Public Authorities Law, Section 1020P.
Right, thank you for that information, because I wasn't aware of that. Thank you.
Nobody is.
No, right.
I'll be on the radio tomorrow, WRIV at 8:40, because even the owner said, well, Newsday's reporting that every town's got their money except the town of Riverhead. And I said, well, that's not true. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, we'll speak tomorrow. So if you want to listen again, 8:40 a.m. on WRIV. Does anybody else have any questions?
Okay, our attorney, Ashley Pope, would like to say something.
Sure. I mean, just to respond, because you're making representations on behalf of the town,
and representations as to what the district has done or not done, or what you think they should do. The district responded directly to your council through our office regarding that proposal to collect money on behalf of the school district. We outlined why that was not an acceptable agreement, the 61 pages that it was. We proposed an alternative agreement whereby the issues between the town and LIPA would be preserved for y'all, and the district would stay out of it, but the district would get its money. That was summarily rejected by your council. I feel at this point that's really all that needs to be said.
Have you read 1020Q where it says that the LIPA can make payments, shall make payments to school districts?
I do read applicable laws before I give advice, yes.
Okay. I made no accusations against the school. If I did, I apologize. But my question is, will the district be reducing the levy by the estimated 2.9 million? You'll need to tell me that by October 1st, because you have to tell me what the apportionment is.
So, ma'am, I do know that Dr. Asay has reached out to representatives at the town, and he has not heard back from them. And he is trying to work with the town. I did send an email today to the town supervisor as well, and I have not heard back as well.
Okay.
So if we could please have somebody from the town contact Dr. Asay so that he may be able to resolve this, because he has reached out several times.
He reached out to me, and we spoke, and I appreciate his efforts. It seems that you're going in that direction, and that would be the direction that you should be going when you're receiving pilots. I think you know that the pilots reduce the levy because they're not coming in through the tax warrant.
And I just want to say publicly that it is very important for the district and the town to work together. And that is something that I've strived to do ever since I became the superintendent here. I would welcome for us to sit down so that Dr. Asay is able to move ahead with what he needs to deal with the financials for the district, but we do need the town's cooperation and to
Understood.
respond for that as well.
I've reached out, last year I reached out to everybody. I spoke at length with Sam Schneider.
Yes, you personally have, but
I personally have. I can't
right,
make
but
that
there-
horse drink water. I can lead the horse.
No,
I can't give the tax
I understand,
information.
but I was holding back because I don't want to say anything negative at this point, but I do feel that you are coming here, and my interpretation is not giving the whole picture to the residents of the community, and it is important to know that the board and I are very, very cognizant of this issue, and we would like it resolved, and the district is owed this money. So we are hoping that the town and LIPA could work out their differences without involving the district in litigation, because I'll be honest with you, I would rather take the taxpayer money and spend it on our students than on litigation. So it's very important that we are able to resolve this issue where the town is supporting the district to be able to get those monies for our residents so that we do not have to increase the tax levy in the future. Certainly, our goal is to have as conservative tax levy as possible, but we do have students who we need to be able to service, and it is important that we are able to capture those funds. And if the town could work out their differences with LIPA and we are able to capture those funds, that would be most beneficial. Thank you.
Understood. I'm a taxpayer in this district, and I represent all the taxpayers in the town of Riverhead. And when taxes go up, we're the first people they call. They don't call you, they call me. So understand the position that I'm in.
We do receive phone calls as well.
Not as many as I do, and you're not sued as much as I am. And, we're the appraiser. We're not the taxing jurisdiction. My office is not the taxing jurisdiction. And people don't understand that they call me the tax assessor. There is no such person. There's the assessor. You can insert the word appraiser, and that would be succinctly describing what my job is. So I do respect you and your thoughts, and that the town should work together. I will try to make that happen. I've tried in the past to get everybody on board, and there's only so much that I can do in my limited capacity and my authority. So I will reach out to the supervisor. I will reach out to the finance administrator. Thank you.
Ms. Thompson?
Good evening, Yolanda Thompson, Bating Hollow. I hope everyone had a good summer, and I think we're all looking forward to the students and the teachers and everyone having a good school year. I just wanted to start by saying that obviously the captioning system wasn't working. I was able to watch on my cell phone the YouTube video. It was captioning up to a certain point, but then during this whole exchange and this discussion, the video went dead. I don't understand why we still can't get our technology going. This prevents me from being able to participate in the meeting. I missed that entire exchange. I have no idea what was being said, so I can't really comment. As a taxpayer and as a parent, my thoughts and feelings on this. But what I would like to say is that we, the public, are really tired of seeing the adversarialness and the lack of cooperation between the school district and the town. It was not that long ago, and this was under a previous law firm that we had, where a lawsuit, legal action was commenced by the school district against the town for some uncollected taxes, and basically the town was trying to say that they weren't the ones that were holding the funds up, it was the county that was not releasing the funds. And there was this adversarialness going back and forth, basically a lawsuit in which you're penalizing the same taxpayers. You're involving the very same taxpayers in legal actions and legal fees, and it makes no sense. And the public is tired. They're tired of the back and forth, tired of this is not my job. I do this, I'm not going to do that. The tossing of responsibility back and forth, the bickering, we're tired of it. Someone needs to step up to the plate. Someone needs to take responsibility. Someone needs to do their job. Some of us choose to address the school board more so because the school district tax levy is the largest portion of our tax bill. Over 65% of our taxes goes to the school district. So you're going to hear from us, more so. You're getting most of our money. And we understand that, you don't collect the taxes, the town collects it, the town distributes it, but we want to start seeing more cooperation and more respect between the school district and the town. You're supposed to be working together for the benefit of the children and for the benefit of the residents, and we want this to stop. Some other things that I wanted to speak about was I was not able to attend the last board meeting, and I'm going to do my best not to say names. I know that you're prohibited from discussing personnel matters and issues, but there was an item on the agenda where a tenured individual was fired. And this came as a shock to many of us in the community because we know that there's been many incidents that have gone on in the school district with other tenured individuals, and they have either been allowed to resign, retire, get reassigned, and many of us were very surprised that here we have a tenured individual who went through, obviously, the 3028 hearing, and hearing officer must have found guilt, and the board followed the recommendations of the hearing
You're
officer.
almost done, Ms. Thompson, because your time is up.
Say it again?
Just speed it up a little bit, because your time is up.
Speed it up.
Are you near the end?
That's disrespectful. I'm trying to speak clearly and respectfully to the board, and you're telling me to speed it up?
No, I just said, are you near the end of what you're saying, because your time is up? So I want to know if you still got a lot, or
Ms.
you got a
Stearns, you
little
let
left.
other people go over the time limit, and you know it.
And that's,
Okay.
I'm letting you, I'm just asking you, Ms.
My
Thompson.
time is up because you don't want to hear what I have to say.
Go ahead, Ms. Thompson, continue.
So you're dismissing me from the podium? What's going on here? You want me to wrap it up? Is that what you're saying?
Continue, please,
Do you
Ms.
want me to sit
Thompson.
down, or do you want me to wrap it up? I'm confused.
No, you want to finish, complete, please. Please, the board
Okay.
wants to hear what you have
I
to
can
say.
keep going?
Yes.
Finish?
Yes, keep going.
Okay. So basically, what some of us are trying to understand is the inconsistency in your decisions. Now, I recall in a certain individual, a hearing about 3 years ago, myself and a couple of other community members questioned the board as to why you were allowing this individual to resign instead of finishing off their 3028 hearing. And the response that I got was, and I think it was Mr. Dorr responded to me, and it is quoted in the News Review because they did cover it, was that you didn't feel that the hearing officer in that instance was going to find that individual guilty. Okay? So now what I'm confused about is if you didn't have faith in that hearing officer for that hearing, number one, I don't understand why you didn't make a request for another hearing officer, but that's water under the bridge. Why do you now have confidence in this hearing officer and in their decision? What was the difference between that hearing officer and this hearing officer in this instance? Can someone explain that to me? All hearing officers are supposed to be impartial. So why did you not have faith in that previous hearing officer, but this one you did and you took their recommendations? Does anyone have an answer? Explanation?
All our hearing officers are impartial. We don't know who's coming to do the hearing.
Okay. Well, my point is this, is that you have a lack of public trust because you're inconsistent. Okay? If you handled all matters, if you handled it with consistency, and you had a consistent policy and a way of handling things, then you wouldn't have the mistrust and distrust of the public. And you wouldn't have me standing here asking you questions that you can't answer.
Ms. Thompson. Anybody else? Mr. Fisher?
All right, good evening. Greg Fisher from Calverton. I have one child left in the district, and then I'm paroled in 2025, I think. So I have one question, very simple. Who is the district doctor now? Is there somebody stepped up for 2022, 23?
I have no clue.
Apparently nobody does. So if there is no doctor that the clerk doesn't know, the lawyer doesn't know, the superintendent doesn't know, the board doesn't know, there's no doctor, which means by default, this board is making medical decisions at times, and not one licensed medical professional is included in those decisions. So one or more persons around the shoe is practicing medicine without a license. Definitely the attorney is one of them, because the attorney is always party to these conversations. And there's an affirmative obligation on the part of the attorney to make sure this law now and in the future is not broken. So I would request that the district find a doctor before we get into the next pandemic season and panic season. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone else. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Dorr. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Colin. Questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Goes.
Mr. Fisher, it is Peconic Medical. It is a group. So, and they have a few doctors, licensed doctors who are part of the group.
We have to find out who exactly, because there has to be one individual with their medical license notated on opinions. It can't be a group. That's an amorphous. It doesn't exist in terms of accountability. Who is that? Because I went to Dr. Rubin, they kind of denied.
That he was a part of that group and that he was
Involved in medical decisions, yet he signed one document on hand washing. So he was involved in one medical decision, but on nothing else. So we have to resolve it for the protection of the students, taxpayers, the board, required liability. It has to get resolved.